Yeah, 4 people waiting.
Board up there.
I erased everything.
All right, cool.
You want? What do you want in here?
Put it so we can just go right onto the board. Yes, sir.
Shoes are super nice.
Oh, thank
Super
you.
clean.
My wifey got me these things. Oh. I need to get a microphone. It's my next big move for this place. Getting the mics, so we can be mic'd up for these.
What happened to the one that the black one, the Yeti?
Javon broke it.
Oh,
Yeah.
He looked up like.
He dropped it on the ground. But that was actually me. I broke it. I dropped it one too many times.
Faith.
Clases en session.
What's the lesson for today?
I was gonna do what I was gonna do on Friday.
Opportunity.
Yeah, I was gonna try and do that, you know. I know you wanted to go over like those universal policies. You ever
I've never seen it not.
get the answer on that?
I mean, like we've gone over and stuff. I just wanted to hear like how you approach
Yeah,
it. You know what I mean?
so I could go over that if you want. You want to hear about universal policy real quick, maybe? Let's do at least talk a little bit sales today.
A little bit.
Okay.
Just
Yeah. So there's we'll call it 3 types of life insurance. You know, well, let's call it 5. Let's go 5, right? So when I was starting out, they explained to me a lot of different ways about life insurance. Then you learn them different ways. So the first guy told me, he's like, it's like, let me tell you about the 3 little pigs of life insurance. You know, and it's real simple. He's like, so you know, the 3 little pigs, the first little pigs, they built a house out of what? Straw. That second house they built it out of sticks, right? And then the third house they built it out of bricks. You got it. There you go. We'll just slide it on back there. Move it for you there, right?
I appreciate that.
So, and all the clients, when you're talking to the clients, they'll all know the story pretty much, right? They all know what the 3 little pigs are all about. So they'll play along with you usually when you're talking to a client. And now, of course, I move this, and it's going to bug the heck out of me that it's crooked. And I know some of you guys are like OCD, just like me. So, like Elise, this would drive Elise crazy, having it crooked like this. So we got to make sure it's straight for her. We're trying over here at least. Now it's just way off.
What's those thing called with the little air bubble inside of it?
My goodness gracious. A level.
Yeah.
A level, yeah.
Get you that for Christmas.
Hey, who else we got? Might need another chair, huh?
I think.
Okay. All right, so we're back at it. So there's the three little pigs. The first pig, the first house is made out of straw. Second house is made out of sticks. The third house is made out of bricks. So when you still want life insurance, when you're working with life insurance, can you lift that up maybe?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because it's
Get it through, because I don't want to not go over the equipment.
So the straw house, that is the group term coverage that you have through work. That's the group term coverage you get through work. The sticks, that is your individual term coverage that you purchase on your own. And your whole life, your permanent life insurance, that is like your bricks. That's the brick house. So those are the three little pigs of life insurance. Statistically, 1% of the time, group term coverage pays out to the families. So if someone's like, oh, I have that coverage through work, literally 1% of the time that actually pays out to families. If somebody has their own individual term that they purchased, so they went out and they bought a 20-year term policy for themselves, or they got a 10-year renewable convertible term policy from our company, right? 3% of the time, those policies pay out. 97% of the time they don't. And then whole life would be the other one. And with whole life coverage, that's the obviously individual someone purchases on their own. 100% of the time, those pay out. You know, so a question you could always ask clients is say, when you pass away, do you want your life insurance to pay out to your family? That's just a very simple question. When you pass away, do you want your life insurance to pay out to your family? And they're like, yeah. I said, okay, well, right now there's 1% chance of that happening. If you were to go to the casino and bet on something, and let's say it was just $20, you had a 1% chance of winning it. Would you bet $20 on that? Probably not. We're not talking about $20 at the casino. We're talking about our family livelihood. So when I help my clients, I make sure that, you know, if we're dealing with their family's livelihood, we don't risk it on something that's going to be a 1% chance of success, right? Then you go to term, 3% chance, still not the best. If you want your life insurance to pay out to your family, there's only one guaranteed life insurance that will do that. That's guaranteed to do that. And that's called whole life. And basically, the best way you know that is because when you look at your coverage, it'll say right on there, if it says the words whole life, that you know that you're going to be covered for what? Your whole life. That's right. So what that means is when you pass away. So now there's other types of coverage out there though, okay? That's not term, it's not whole life, okay? It's almost like sort of like a hybrid, or, you know, and it's called you'll see a couple policies out there maybe where you'll see it's called flexible. Sorry, I'm just writing on the board here, probably not the best handwriting, okay? It's called flexible premium adjustable life. Some people call these universal life policies. So if you have a policy and you look at your policy, if it says universal life, that means that it is a flexible premium adjustable life. But most of the time, when you look at a universal policy, it's not going to say universal policy. It's going to say flexible premium adjustable life. So Joe and Mary, if you think about it, right? You have a policy where the premium is flexible. So that means that it can either go up or down. If you're a life insurance company and you have the ability to make people's premiums go up and down, right? Which way do you think the life insurance company is going to make those premiums go? You would think so. Now, the next thing is your life insurance policy it's called adjustable life. So this is the life insurance money that gets paid out to your family. It's what? It's adjustable. So that means that it can either go up or down. If you're a life insurance company and you can make the life insurance, the amount of money that you have to pay out to people, basically, you can adjust that up or down. Which way you think the life insurance company is going to adjust it? Down. So what we typically find with this is people who have these flexible premium adjustable life policies, over time, we find that their premium ends up going up and up and up and up and up. And we find that over time, their death benefit, the life insurance that goes to their family, that ends up going down and down and down and down until either A, the client can't afford to keep the coverage in place anymore because it costs too much, or the death benefit went all the way down to pretty much nothing. And then the policy ends up getting what's called chewed up and it no longer exists anymore, right? So now what happens is the families paid all this money for all these years to this insurance company, and then the insurance company has to pay what back to the families? Nothing. Insurance companies are getting richer and richer and richer. Our families are getting poorer and poorer and poorer, right? So that's why that when they made sure they had to set that, there was a major problem. The problem was our members were passing away, leaving behind funeral and final arrangements to the people that they love the most. And that was a major problem. So to come up with the solutions, they had a lot of different options to look at. And what they did, they even looked at universal policies, and they found that that is one of the worst ideas for our clients to have, because nothing about it is guaranteed at all. So they needed to have something that was guaranteed for sure, going to take care of the families and is in our clients' best interest. And the only thing that they found in the world was whole life coverage. And in fact, because they work with our company, this is the best absolute whole life policy that is on planet Earth. And it's available to them right there. You know, so if you're going to protect your family, you have an opportunity to actually protect your family with the best whole life coverage out there. You know, and I tell them, I said, Joe and Mary, that's what I like about this. That's why I would never want to help you and then know that you can go down the street and get the same thing for even better for cheaper. You could get something better for cheaper. I can tell you right now for sure, it doesn't exist. This is the absolute best whole life coverage that is on planet Earth available for your family. And what's nice is you're going to get it at the union negotiated rate. There's no better rate out there. And if you can find a better policy, you call me up, okay? And you let me know. I tell the clients that. Say, if you can find something better, you let me know. There's not a better whole life policy out there, and go and try and find one, please. So I stop telling people that. Please let me know if you can find a better one, so you stop telling people, right? So anyways, that's how you start out talking about a flexible premium. I didn't even get into no numbers yet, but already the clients are already thinking, right? Think about just that. I mean, pull your policy out. Let me see what that says on it. See where it says flexible premium on there, Joe? Let me just explain to you what that really means. See how it says adjustable life on your policy? Let's talk about what that really means, right? And then now let me go into explaining to them how this actually works, right? So here's how it works. Here's the problem is that you'll sign up for the policy. You know, let's say that you want a $100,000 policy, right? And currently, to have a $100,000 policy, you're going to have what's called your cost of insurance. To have $100,000, it costs money, right? Well, you're how old? 30. So the cost for that minimum, the minimum cost for the insurance right now is $35 a month. Okay. Now I want to ask you something. What do you think is going to happen over time with the cost of insurance? It's going to go up, right? So the cost of insurance for this policy eventually is going to go up, all right? Up. So if you started today and you signed up for a policy for $35 a month for $100,000, you'll have that policy for about 1 year, and next year you're still going to keep paying $35, right? But what's the cost of insurance? It's gonna be 40, it's gonna be 50. So what's gonna happen to that policy?
It's valuable.
It's gonna lapse. You know, because all you're paying for is the cost of insurance. So they want to do that. So now they say, so this is your cost of insurance. Now they have what's called the recommended premium, and then they have your max that you can put in. They say that if you put in $65 a month, you sign up for $65 a month and pay that until what? What did they tell you is going to happen with your premium? They say it's going to go up or down. It's supposed to stay the same, right? So you're going to pay $65 a month until when? Forever. But the thing is, you're paying $65, but the cost of insurance is only what? $35. So what happens to that extra $30?
Invested.
That goes into your cash value. So this is the cash value that builds up in your policy right here. So every month you're paying 65, but the cost of insurance is 35. Then it's 45. Then it's 55. Then it's 60, and you're putting in 65, so you're still getting what? $5 is going towards your.
That's right.
What happens to the cash? What do?
Invested.
They invest that cash for you, right? So what they do is with a universal policy is they invest this money into things that are tied to interest rates. So these were very popular back in the late 80s, even in the early 90s, when interest rates were high. A client would sign up for this and the agent would say, hey, check this out. We're going to get you 12% interest. Interest rates are so high. So then they go into their computer and they do what's called a projection. When you sign up for a universal policy, you're not getting a black and white sheet of paper that guarantees what you get. When you sign up for whole life, you saw it says the cash value at 65. That's that. What color is that written in there, Joe? Black and white. Doesn't change. There's no gray area here. This is guaranteed. That's why I like this. It's black and white, Joe. You know, with a universal policy, they have to draw you up a projection based upon the interest rates that we are assuming that we're going to get throughout the lifetime of this policy. So for me, I could draw you up a policy, show you 12%, right? Look, you're going to get 12% interest on your money. So guess what? You don't need to put in $65 a month. If you're going to get a 4% interest rate, then you're going to need to put in $65 a month for this to grow. But if you're going to get a 12% interest rate, I could get you this policy for $50 a month. So now you can put $50 a month in, right? Because we're going to assume the cash value is going to grow by 12%. And then guess what happens? Interest rates went down. We didn't get to 12%. We got 3%. They're putting in $50 right here. They thought they're supposed to have this much cash. They have this much cash. So now what happens is cost of insurance is $65, right? But they're putting in what? 50. So the difference is $15 in this situation. Where are they getting that $15 from? They're pulling it from the cash. But then you're putting in 50, now it's 80. Where are they getting that 30 from? Getting it from the cash, right? Now it's 100, you're putting in 50, where are they getting the extra 50 from? Until what? Until there's no more cash. They call that getting a policy is called getting chewed up. All the cash is getting chewed up in the policy because it wasn't structured properly. And the agent gets paid the same. Whether you enroll into that policy at the recommended premium of $65 a month, or if you say, hey, can I put in some extra money just to fluff my cash? You can do that too. You can put extra money in to fluff your cash, to put more money into your cash value in order to get more tax-free money in retirement. And if you just want to solidify your policy and just hide money for tax-free purposes, they have a maximum that says you can put actually $90 a month into this, right? So you can do I can put in $90 a month. I can put in $50 a month, but the recommended premium is $65 based upon the minimum returns. Like they're saying, listen, if your cash value craps out, if your cash value gets the worst return ever, as long as you're putting in $65 a month, this thing is going to carry out till age 100. Does that make sense, guys? So the agent knows when they sign the client up what the minimum recommended premium is, right? Based upon the worst return. Then the agent can go in there though and say, what if we get 6%? Oh, look what it does then. Look how much cash value they'll have. Oh, what if we do 12%? Wow, look how much cash value they'll have at 12%. And then they'll draw it up and say, Matt Brown, look at this, dude. You're going to get 12% on this policy. You're going to have an extra 30 grand in cash value if you do 65. But if you don't want to do 65, at 12%, you could do $50 a month, right? Now, also, if you wanted to, you could put even $90 in a month or $80 in a month and get this much more cash value, right? But they do put a max on the policy. Why do they do that? Because they don't want Matt Brown to put $300 a month into this policy. Why don't they want him to do that?
What if you can't keep putting in $300 a month?
Well, that don't matter. He only needs to put in 65. If he puts in 300, he paid 5 months at a time. Why don't they want to do that? What happens? They call it, I'll give you guys some money if you get this. Come on. What do they call it? When you max fund a policy and you over max fund a policy. You can max fund a policy, that's cool. But there's a max. If you go over the max, that is no longer a life insurance policy.
It's a
It's an
modified
investment.
endowment contract.
Hey, anybody hear that? Modified endowment contract. So you know what they say that? They say, you don't want to mech your policy. You don't want to mech your policy. It's called meching the policy. Modified endowment contract. So you can't mech your policy. If you mech your policy, it's not a policy anymore. There's no death benefit attached to it. Now it's a modified endowment contract, which is basically like a annuity. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so and the reason they don't want you to mech the policy is because you're hiding money into a tax-free area, and the government doesn't like that. So they made this law that says, you're allowed to do it up to a certain point, but we're not letting you hide all your money from us. Does that make sense? So it's more like the government don't want you to do that. So you can underfund the policy, and what'll happen? It'll get chewed up faster, If you underfund the policy and it underperforms, then you're really screwed. You can properly fund the policy, but it can underperform and you can get screwed as well, So you have to know where the place is. And here's the cool thing. I can sell you a policy, and whether you sign at $35 a month and pay the bare bones minimum, or whether you pay $90 a month and max this thing out, my commission is the same. Same commission. Peter Riker, you're an hour late, dog. Hour late. We had 9:30. He's calling me at 10:30. I paid this guy to do our social media. I signed up with him. And our first meeting, he's an hour late. So we'll see how long he keeps his job. I don't rule like that. I had all my managers in the meeting, wasted all of our time. Like, he's gonna get an earful when I talk to him. I'm like, dude, you wasted a half hour on my time, this guy's time, this guy's time. Literally, you wasted 6 hours of our time. Literally, 5 people in over a half hour, just 3 hours right there. That's why if you have a big meeting, you got 50 people waiting for you, and you're 2 minutes late, right? That's 100 minutes you wasted. Think about that, right? Powerful stuff. So anyways, But any questions on this so far? What else can I break down for us here?
So when you said the 12%, that was the projected amount that it would be. Those were the older policies for sure. But
Yeah.
if I did have a newer policy, interest rates have been nowhere near there recently. So I don't know if it would even, is it in their minds, the 12%, is that even a real number to some of the newer policies that?
No, newer policy.
What would you say in that situation?
If it was a newer policy?
Yeah.
Still the same thing. It's still not guaranteed. It's still not guaranteed, you know? In fact, I mean, the interest rates are a lot lower today, so that's even a bigger concern if you're putting things tied to interest rates. So we're getting 4.5% guaranteed on ours, whether they're 6% or whether they're 1.6%, right? You know, so
Oh, so when it comes down to it, like if our 4.5%, which is a guarantee, that's most of the time gonna outperform.
it will. Yeah. Most of the time, and it's gonna outperform that. And 4.5% is way better than any interest rate you're gonna find out there. You're not gonna find any, I mean, if they know anything about the market too, it's like, you get 4.5% fixed? No. Like anybody who knows anything about anything out there is like, what do you mean? No, we get a 4.5% guaranteed interest rate. Well, what about when interest rates went down like really, really low a couple years ago? Like they were really low. What did your company pay everybody in their accounts? 4.5%. How'd they do that? They weren't getting 4.5%. Our company wasn't even getting 4.5%. You realize that? But we're paying 4.5%. That's crazy. Nowhere in the country, nowhere in the economy, it didn't exist. 4.5% did not exist. But somehow our company was still paying. We got an email because you have a DAF account. You guys know what the DAF account is? Deposit account feature. Whatever amount of money they're paying for their life insurance, they can also double it down into a deposit account feature, and it gets them a guaranteed 4.5%. That's a little side thing our clients can do. So like if you meet with a client and they're like, they got $100 a month going into their life insurance, and you find out that they don't have any money saved up. So if you want to save, I got a spot you can start saving some cash and get you 4.5% guaranteed interest on your cash, and whatever it's called our deposit account feature. Well, we got an email a couple years ago, and they said, guys, we can no longer allow anybody to put money into the deposit account feature because we're giving people 4.5%, and it doesn't, like, we're losing money. Good thing we're American Income Life, owned by Globe and Torchmark, which deep pockets that, like got more money than half of South America. Our country, our company. I'm telling you, the company's rich, so super rich. It's crazy rich. It's nuts, So that was pretty cool that they were able to do that. Does that make sense, though?
Yeah.
So
How does that work?
questions for
I was gonna
Faith?
say, some of the universal policies, don't they grow at like a fixed interest rate though? Or is there like a minimum interest rate that they grow at?
Yeah, some of them will put like a minimum on there.
But not all of them?
Not all of them.
So like, it's not like a law that they like have to have a minimum interest rate, it's just like.
No. No, and here's the second part of the story, guys, is that this is a universal policy, which means it's tied to what? Interest rates. Remember, universal policies are tied to interest rates, which are fixed investments, right? Okay. Now, the other type of policy is called a variable universal policy. Okay. The variable universal policy takes your cash value that builds up here. You pay $65 a month, but your cost of insurance is only $30. It takes that other $35, and instead of putting it into 4.5% interest rate like our whole life policy, and instead of investing it into the interest rate market, things that are tied to the interest rate, like like bonds and bills and T-bills and CDs and cash investments, things like that. Instead of investing in the interest rates, the variable invested into stocks. Okay, and when I say stocks, it doesn't have to be stocks. So when someone signs up for a variable universal life policy, now their cash goes into, you ready for this? Their cash doesn't go into interest, it doesn't go into the 4.5% fixed like a whole life, right? It doesn't go into universal policy where it goes into interest rates. Your cash is going into what's called sub accounts. Okay, variable universal life policies have sub accounts. A variable universal life policy will give you a bunch of different options to invest your money into. I have a VUL, I have a variable universal life policy myself. I took it out when I was 21 years old. It's $250,000 death benefit. The premium was $168 a month. So how many people do you know that graduate college and the first thing that they do is they buy a $250,000 life insurance policy for $168 a month? How many people do you know that really fucking did that shit?
Just you.
Yes, I put my money where my mouth is. 21 years old, I bet $168 a month on a $250,000 policy. Why do you think I'm so damn good at selling life insurance?
Have you some?
Why do you think I'm so damn good at it? Think about that. Think about that, right? I'm sitting down with a 40-year-old. This 40-year-old has a wife, 2 kids, mortgage, only income, no life insurance. I'm 21 years old. I got $250,000. Bob, please, for real, let's just think about that for a second. Don't worry about my script. I don't need a fucking script. You feel me? I don't need a fucking script. I spent $168 a month. I got $250,000. I'm 21 years old. I don't got a wife and kids. You're 40 years old with a wife and kids. You don't got no life insurance. Come on, let's go. What else do you need? Do you need a script at that point? No. That's why I fucking sell life insurance better than anybody. Belief. Straight up. That's it. If you want to sell some more, buy some more. Sign yourself up for a policy before you walk out this office today. If you don't got it. And if you got it, go get some more for yourself. Get the cheapest policy you can if you can't afford it right now. You got to have American Income Life. If you don't have American Income Life and you're selling American Income Life, you're missing out. You're missing out, bro. Like seriously, you're going to double your fucking sales right away. You're 22 years old. You got a $100,000 whole life policy. Come on, come at me. What do you got, bro? You don't got nothing? You got a wife, 2 kids? What do you mean? This don't even make no sense right now. I want to give you some of my life insurance. I feel so bad for the guy. You guys feel me?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. We can talk about all this stuff all we want. I know it inside and out, back and forth, and I could sell it. I could explain this to people. I explained it to millions of people before. Old people, young people, and everywhere in between. Saved a lot of people. Saved a lot of people because of this. A lot of people, man. And you don't even realize until the first time you do it. You hear about it and you're like, oh, that'd be cool if one day I'm able to do it. And then you're sitting in the home and it's sad. It's sad. The person's 60 years old. They've been paying their whole entire lives and they come to find out this ain't going to be there when they die. This is basically going to cost them more and more money and the benefit is going to go down. And by the end of it, there's not going to be anything left at all. So that was scary, you know, and it's sad because now they don't have many options at that point. So here, let me tell you the options. You meet somebody, they're stuck into a policy. What do they do? What do they do? Right? So they better use it before they what? Lose it. So that's the saying. People love to hear that stuff. You got to have these one-liners, right? So you know what they say with these policies, guys? You have cash in here, okay? This cash is going to get what? Shoot up, okay? So you can use it before you lose it. Because you're going to lose everything if we don't do something now, right? So what you can do, they can take the cash value out of their policy, okay? And then cancel the policy, take the cash, and do whatever they want with that cash, money, okay? But they will have to pay probably a little bit of taxes on some of the money. And maybe there might be like a surrender charge in the policy if it's in their first 10 years. That's another thing. They put surrender charges on this shit. Surrender charges, 10 years. It's called a surrender schedule. So you pull up, what's your surrender schedule? Like, what's that? Well, if you try to cancel it, they're going to take, percentage of your cash value. So you have to be in a policy for 10 years before there's not even a surrender charge anymore. Like 7 years will go by, you got $3,000 in there, but there's 65% surrender charge. So you really only get like 1,500 out of your $3,000 cash value, and you got to pay taxes on the profits that you made off of that. Not the money you put in, but the profits you got on it because you cancel the policy. Okay. If I keep my policy in place, I can take the cash value out of that and never pay any taxes because I'm borrowing against an existing life insurance policy. No taxes on that, right? But if I cancel that life insurance policy, take the cash, now I'm not borrowing against the policy anymore, so it's not all tax-free. I have to pay taxes on the gains, not the money that I put in because I was already after tax money, right? So that's how that would work. Plus, if there's a surrender charge. So number one, they can take the cash out of the policy, right? They can take the cash out of their policy, right? Where's that cash going to go? In their checking account. So you could take the cash, put it right in your checking account, bro. And look, Joe, you got $7,000, right? The premium for this thing over here is going to be $300 a month, right? So you can use this to pay for the premium for the first 3 years. That's one thing you can do, okay? Now, if you want to get more technical with them, technically, you can take the money from a universal policy and you can move the cash value from that policy into another investment with no tax consequences, okay?
Does that have to do with the same company though?
No. So you can take cash value from a life insurance policy and move it into another investment without any tax consequences. So you don't have to sell it, pay the taxes on it, and then put it back into a new policy. You can just go right from here, right to there, rather than obviously take the cash, put it into my stock, put it into my checking account, go buy another investment with it. Okay, so here's where you get technical. You sound smart now. Put a little feather in your cap, right? Put your professional, your financial advisor hat on. You say, so Joe and Mary, there's a tax code. It's called tax code 1035. And in tax code 1035, it allows individuals to take their money from a life insurance policy, take the cash and exchange it into an annuity. It's called a 1035 exchange. That's where you can sound smart a little bit. So you can do what's called a 1035 exchange. And Joe and Mary, there's a tax code called tax code 1035. And what it does, it allows individuals like us to take our cash that's in a life insurance policy and allows you to exchange that cash and move it to an annuity with no tax consequences at all, right? So that's the other option that person would have with that money. So they're like, Tommy, what do I do? I got to use it before I lose it. What do I do? I say, well, A, we just cash that sucker out, pay the taxes on it. You'll have about 17 grand. That'll go right into your checking account. And what do you want to do with that? Well, I would recommend you don't have no money saved up. So that could be your savings. That's your cash reserve. And then out of that, we can start paying your premiums for your freedom of choice certificate with that. So you don't have to, your freedom of choice, you don't got to pay for it. You pretty much already got it paid for over there. The other option is you can take that cash and you can move it and find yourself an annuity. I would recommend if they're older to do a fixed annuity. You don't want to get an old person into a variable annuity for obvious reasons, right? So, if they're an older client, you could tell them to find yourself a good fixed annuity, So RiverSource is the company that I sold the fixed annuities from, which was good, but it's an Ameriprise financial company, but they can do that. put it into an annuity, and then and you can even show them how it would work, you know, like, so, hey, look, you got, how much money does this person got in their cash value in their policy? There's 10 grand. Okay. So they put 10 grand into the annuity. What's nice is if you put money in the fixed annuities, they'll earn a fixed guaranteed interest like 4 or 5%, you know, you can't touch the money for a while. It gets locked up for like 5 years and you can start drawing from it, you know, but they have guaranteed like withdrawal rates on these fixed annuities as well. So like if I got my grandma's money and she's like, I got 100 grand, and I'm like, well, let's just keep it simple. I don't want to risk it. Let's put it into a fixed annuity. The fixed annuity will be like, all right, we're going to get you a guaranteed 4%, and we're going to give you a guaranteed 3 grand a year with a cost of living rider. I always put a cost of living rider on all the annuities that I sold, because if I've signed your grandma up to get $3,000 a month today, and she lives another 20 years, she's going to get 3 grand a month 20 years from now, and it's really only going to be $1,500 a month in purchasing power. So you have to add cost of living rider on their withdrawals, so that 20 years from now it keeps up with inflation. You know what I'm saying? So she can still buy the same amount of milk, eggs, and bread that she bought today. So those are the 2 things you can do with the cash inside there. So on the variable universal life policies, is one more side note, is remember, where's the money get put into? Sub accounts. Those sub accounts, what are those sub accounts, guys? You want to know what they are? They're mutual funds. That's what they are. But they don't call them mutual funds because it's inside of VUL. So they call them sub accounts. Gotcha. They call them sub accounts. Make sense? So, so now here's the thing. I got a VUL. I have 64 different sub accounts. I can invest my cash money, my cash value. So every time my cash grows, my cash value grows, it gets invested every month. It's getting invested into these sub accounts. There's 64 of them. Now here's how those sub accounts look. There's probably 1 or 2 of them that are cash accounts. I could literally say, hey, Mr. Financial Advisor, I want all of my money to just go into the cash sub accounts. And literally, I could just have my money just sitting in cash in my VUL right now. There's also 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bond accounts that are in there. They're bond mutual funds, high grade bond, mid grade bond, corporate bond, mutual funds, right? And then there's also like 60 or like 50 or 40 stock mutual funds. So there's small cap stock, mid cap stock, large cap stock, mutual funds. Those invest into domestic companies, which is United States. They invest into US companies that are small. That's small cap stock. Those that are small. So I could say, you want to know what? Take all my money inside my VUL right now. I got $12,000 of cash value. Put it all in small cap stock, and I could buy the 2 small cap mutual funds in there, right? Or I can say, you know what? Give me 10% small cap, 30% mid cap, 50% large cap, and put the rest in the bonds. So I could diversify, you see? Now there's mid-cap mutual funds. Those are what? Mid-sized domestic companies. Then there's large cap mutual funds. Those are the large domestic companies. But there's also a couple of mutual funds that are there that are in the international mutual funds. So there's 2 types of international investments. Typically, there's diversified international and emerging markets. So you kind of have a dabble in a little bit of each. Like if my portfolio was always 42% large cap, 11% mid cap, 11% small cap, 60% international, and I think it was like 20% bond, you know, 10% high grade bond, 10% low grade bond. So that's how I did my moderately aggressive portfolio, right? So if I was doing 16% international, I would probably have 8% of my international be diversified international, and the other 8% be emerging markets. You know what I mean? So now inside my VUL, that's what I have going on right now. I have 64 different investments, and every time I put my money in, part of my money is going towards large cap. Some of it's going mid, some of it's going small, some of it's going international, and some of it's going into some fixed cash And, oh, you know what? I have a little bit, I think I have 5% into a real estate fund in there. They added and that's the thing too. You gotta, when you buy a VUL, it's all about the company. There's a company right now, I met with a guy one time, he had a VUL. It had 6 sub-accounts. That don't give them no options. Like if you want large cap, you gotta put it in here. Like I have 64, I have 5 or 6 different large caps, 6 or 7 mid caps, you know, different companies too. So one of them's like Oppenheimer, one of them's Fidelity, one of them is BlackRock, one of them's RiverSource. So there's a couple different companies with a couple different large cap mutual funds I could choose from. I have more options. I can diversify my portfolio a lot more when I got 64 sub accounts versus 6 sub accounts. Like one time, one of them had like, it said like large cap, mid cap, small cap, international, bond, and cash. I think there was like 5 or 6 funds for the guy. I'm like, that's it. He didn't have any options, you know, which it is what it is. But just so you know, when you go to see somebody who has a VUL, they're going to have sub accounts. But it's all dependent upon the company. Some of them might have 30 different sub accounts. Some of them might have 3 sub accounts. You know, just so happened the one I had was 64. But that's how a VUL works. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. We might have went over this before, but it's a good refresher, right? All right.
So if you're gonna do that, the more sub accounts you have, the better?
I would say so. It gives you more options to diversify. Yeah.
So once you do move that money over to the other mutual funds, and then would you still have to pay like a surrender fee?
No.
Since there's no cash value to pull from, there won't be a surrender fee then?
Yeah. So like if you have a life insurance policy, and if it's a universal policy, the first couple years you have a surrender fee. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if you cancel a universal policy like in year 7, right, you might have $3,000 of cash in there, right? But they're going to tell you you have a 50% surrender charge. So they're going to charge you 50% of that. Or it might be a dollar amount. They might say you have a $750 surrender charge, and they're going to pull it from the cash value before you get it. Now, if you don't have any cash value, you're going to have to pay money. You have to pay, you have to pay a penalty to get out of it.
Is that why you recommended to switch that over to an annuity? Because of the surrender that they would make you pay? Is that why you would switch move it to an annuity?
No, that still won't save you. You still would get hit with a surrender charge because you're still canceling that policy.
Okay.
So whether you cancel the policy and take the cash, or whether you do a 1035 and put it from there into an annuity, it's still. And the thing is, I wish we could just do a 1035 into a whole life, and they could just do it with us. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
But we can't. So I did the best advice. That's the best advice you could give them is A or B right there. Take the cash or 1035 and, into something else.
So is the variable like better than the flexible premium adjustable, in your opinion, because it's more diversified?
So is a variable universal life better than a universal life? That's a tough question. That is based upon the client. It's based upon the client. See, a VUL is probably not, it's not best for somebody who's 50 or older.
They don't have time to put
There's
the
no
money.
time to build the cash value. It's like, why would you start investing into stocks now? You're already past that, So typically, but I did meet some people that were 50, and I got to say this, that I sold VULs because they had so much money and they needed to hide it from the government. So you guys know what they call cash value life insurance, right? They call it the rich man's Roth. See, you can use a Roth IRA only if you make $150,000 or less in household income, adjusted gross. So that's your adjusted gross on taxes. You can make 300, rate it all the way down to 150 and still qualify to put it into the Roth, if that makes sense, right? It's what so you and your wife, you and your husband are making $150,000 adjusted gross or less. You can use a Roth IRA. What's the benefit of using a Roth IRA? It grows tax-free, and when you pull the money out, it's tax-free. So Roth IRA equals what? Tax-free money in retirement. Problem is, when you make a lot of money, you can't use a Roth IRA anymore, right? So if you can't use a Roth IRA, how do you get tax-free money in retirement? You have to sock it all away into cash value of life insurance. Well, here's another thing. You make less than $150,000 and you use your Roth IRA, but you maxed it out because you can only put $5,500 a year into it. So you put $5,500 a year into your Roth IRA every year. You're maxed out. What else can you do to get more tax-free money in retirement? Cash value life insurance, right? So that's why that tax control triangle that I went over with you guys is huge. I'll post it in the group again today if I can find it real quick, right when we get done. If you guys watch that, just gives you another idea how to break that down. I met with a teacher and I said, you seem really smart. And that's the thing, compliment people. You seem really smart, so you're probably going to understand what I'm talking about here. Yeah, as I brought that up to her, it's like, you're a teacher, you're smart, you seem like you got your ducks in a row, seem like you're very good with planning, you'll appreciate this. Let me explain to you this. And I explained to her how it was great that she had $100,000 her whole life, but that whole life coverage is going to go to her family. She needs to get at least another $100,000 to build cash value for herself so she could have tax-free money in retirement. Because if you go to retirement, what do you think taxes are going to be when you get older in retirement? You think they're going to go up or down? Up, right? And if you have all your money in a taxable area and the government raises taxes, guess what you ought to do? It's got to pay them, right? So what people are doing now is they're positioning themselves today from a tax standpoint, because you always want to diversify your portfolio, right? Diversification means what? Not putting all your eggs in one basket. That's the best way. You know, and they're saying, yeah, so you want to diversify from an asset standpoint. You don't want to have all in Pepsi stock, right? You want to diversify. You want to have large cap, mid cap, small cap, international, cash, real estate, bonds, high grade, low grade, corporate, have all that. But also you want to diversify your portfolio from a tax standpoint as well. We can't have all of our eggs in one basket, having all of our money for retirement in a taxable area, right? So, but if you wait until you're older, you're going to be too late. So people today are positioning themselves for the future to make sure they have tax-free money in retirement. And the best way to do it, besides a Roth IRA, is cash value life insurance, because it kills two birds with one stone. You like killing birds, right? If you're going to kill some birds, let's kill two birds with one stone. We need life insurance. We need tax-free money for retirement, right? This takes care of both. We need to protect your family, right? We need tax. Boom. It's the best. Telling you, it's one of the best financial products out there on planet Earth is cash value life insurance. It covers everything, you know. It's guaranteed, and it's a guarantee. Not too many things are guaranteed out there, right? So that's my spin on that today.
So quick question.
Drew's gonna
I know
yell at me in a
there's
minute here.
maximum amounts as far as how much you can put. With our forced savings account, let's say their premium is $200 a month, right? Can they add whatever they want, or is there like a max to what
With
they
our
want?
company?
Yeah.
It's called the deposit account feature, the DAF account, we call that, the DAF account. Whatever your premium is, you can put the same amount into that. That's it.
How do they get set up? Like, is that on the
So you can
application?
double.
You said we can't do that anymore?
So I'm pretty sure they opened it back up now. I think we can do DAF accounts again.
Wait, what? You can put the premium in,
Whatever the client pays in premium, they can also set up a DAF account and put the same amount in there, and it's a savings account that earns them 4.5% interest. Literally 25 times.
Do we get
what you
like
at the bank.
commission from that, or?
No commission or nothing. But you'll get pretty much guaranteed renewals on that, because a client, when they sign up for the DAF account, never cancel.
so they're basically paying like double their premium then. They're paying their premium and they're paying the same amount of premium putting it.
Not paying.
It's their money.
It's a savings account.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're gonna set aside, remember, not pay, always set aside or invest, you know? If you're gonna set aside, they're gonna set aside the $200 a month for their family to make sure their family's protected, but they're also gonna set aside $200 a month into a savings feature for them, and it's gonna build a savings account over time for their rainy day fund. Something happens to them. Most families need to have 3 to 6 months of their expenses in a cash reserve position as well, you know?
Why would they just double their premium, get double the coverage? it's still gonna grow cash value. and
I mean,
double protection.
they could do that too, but it's not gonna be money, like this is, it's just too, it's money in
Part
a
of it goes to
savings
cost of
account.
insurance,
You
you
know,
don't get all of it
It's
back.
easily accessible, they can get to it right away,
Mhm.
it's like, it's liquid, more liquid's the word I'm looking for,
And if they're paying double, because they want to set money aside for that DAF account, typically I know it's like a 2-year period until it starts growing money they can take out the policy. If they have a DAF account where they're setting aside an extra 200 on top of their premium, can they take it then out at any time? Or do you have
Instantly,
to-
yeah, it's like literally like a savings account at the bank that gets you 4.5%. I mean, it can't be any simpler than that. And the only thing, it's a savings account at the bank gets you like 0.2%. Like figure out what the savings account gets them at the bank and then figure out what 4.5% is and what the percentage is over that. Like, let's say they got a 0.25% return at the bank and we're getting 4.5%. That's 4, 8, 12, 16, 18 times return that they're getting at the bank. Take 0.25, it's 18 times the rate of return, which is 1,000, and that's 1,800%. We're not getting double would be 100%, triple, we're getting 1,800% better rate of return than they get at the bank. So I can get you 1,000% better return than what you're getting at the bank right now. 1,000% better. Right? Cancel it, brother. Hey, we're gonna cancel on the Zoom call, guys. Great job today. Elise, great job. Hopefully your baby was taking some good notes too. Looks cute over there. That's awesome.